So maybe he didn't know that she put the whole video of them on the beach up there or something like that. But you know what? To some 17-year-old kid who's scrolling through, and then they're like, oh my God, that's Bill Belichick. That's a different way to connect to kids nowadays than ever before that Bill would have no idea about. So there actually is a real reason to have this girl on staff and maybe be a part of your social media team. Bill, though, will take it to the next level. Everybody is going to think, oh, of course, it's because he's dipping the, company pen in her ink. No. It's the other way around. It's control. You notice Belichick didn't look to her and say, oh, no, honey, why don't we tell the story? He sat there and he shut up when she jumped in, just like the people who used to do it in Foxborough.
Yeah, because she nailed it. But as a Patriots fan, do you know how glad I am that I can't believe I'm saying this, that Bill Belichick is not the head coach right now, right? I mean, right? Mike Vrabel's our head coach. I can look at this on the side and laugh and enjoy it as entertainment. My brother and I used to go at it. I was calling for Belichick I was on your show on EI way back in the day, calling for Belichick to be removed. I thought, I thought that was mismanaged. I think he was around too long. And so for me, this is a lot of fun. I don't think I'd be having much fun with this if I was like a diehard North Carolina football fan, right? Like if he was still coaching the Patriots, I wouldn't love all these distractions.
Well, I think Bill's been a horny bastard from the beginning. I mean, just be real about it. Like, remember when he came here and then the guy he was sleeping with the guy's wife, and then it ended up being in the New York Post about the whole, oh my God, look at this terrible person that he is. Like, I mean, some people, that's their proclivity. They're just horny and they're going to go out and screw and they don't want to be attached and all that kind of stuff. But I think people are like, why is Jordan walking on the football field? Well, she clearly has a role. And some of it is to kind of keep people at bay as well, because, again, who's going to snap at her? Because if you snap at her, then you're really going to get the ire of Bill because he's involved with her professionally and personally. So it's really the perfect shield in a lot of ways for Bill Belichick. And, Jay, you said something earlier that is so on point. Go win 10 games, and nobody gives a shit about any of this.
No question about it. And I will say Bill Belichick is competitive as fuck. And a lot of this stuff is what he doesn't care about any of this, right? He cares about the football stuff. So I'm interested to watch that component, right? Because that's what we all got excited about when we're talking about Chapel Bill. It's the football stuff, right? Let's transition, talk about the Boston coaches. We touched on this a little bit last week, just how lucky we are. And obviously we know the Bruins are without a head coach. Pittsburgh Penguins coach Mike Sullivan went to the New York Rangers. I think the Bruins were maybe hoping he'd come a little bit further north. But just when we talk about Alex Cora, we talk about Mike Vrabel and Joe Mazzulla, right? And even a guy like Ime Udoka, who I absolutely love, who I know is out the door. But just how lucky we are to have these three guys sort of leading these three teams right now, because it's a big part of the success in Titletown.
Look, you got to have great managers and you got to have great coaches. I don't think you have like people like Gerard Mayo don't accidentally win football games in the NFL, as we've come to know.
Yeah.
But my God, how lucky are we that we have not only people, Jay, who know their game, but they understand Boston. Steve Buckley, the legendary baseball writer, once coined the phrase, the Boston baseball experience. Because when you become a Red Sox, it's different than anywhere else, right? But I think that applies to the Boston sports experience in that we sniff out the phonies pretty quickly. We figure out the guys that can't play pretty quickly. We're not that surprised that often because we're astute fans. But when you think about having Alex Cora, who his team respects him, MLB respects him, the players respect him. You can say the same thing about Joe Mazzulla, and I think we'll say the same thing about Mike Vrabel. And these guys all communicate with each other. So one thing I love that Cora did was, hey, we're all kind of a little brotherhood here. Let's make sure we kind of stay in touch. They all go through some of the similar things, especially dealing with the a-holes in the media and the people on the outside.
Well, and I will say, I want to talk a little bit about Bill Belichick and Brad Stevens, right? And I think it's different, but, from Brad Stevens' standpoint, right? And Brad Stevens, an incredible person, coach, every level, everything he's done has been incredible. But I do believe his brilliance lied in knowing that he wasn't the right man to sort of coach this roster, right? I'm married to a black woman. We've talked a lot about culture and different things, right? And I do believe having a black man coaching in this league, and I'm not trying to create some big racial conversation, but I think there were certain disconnects with Brad Stevens in certain spots in terms of connecting with those guys. Similar to Bill Belichick, who I think Belichick was very underrated in terms of his ability to connect with the different persons on his team and players. I think he always could connect. But as you get older, right, I think Mike Vrabel has a very special ability to connect with the person. And so when I look at all three of those guys, like Joe Mazzulla talks all about just coaching the people and caring about people more than basketball, right? And so I think, and Alex Cora, the same thing, right? So I think with those three guys, that no matter how successful Bill Belichick was, I do think he wasn't the ideal sort of players coach. And I would think what's ultimately the best about these three coaches is they're players coaches and not players coaches and, drill sergeants too. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you said it, you kind of came back around on they have the ability to connect, but they never give up their ability to coach or be hard on those guys. And I think that was the big mistake from Gerard Mayo, where it was, yippee, let's all just be a big happy family, when in reality, you can't be that way. Even within happy families, there's somebody who runs the thing or the person who will be listened to the most. And
well, exactly. And just to cut in, Gerard Mayo, one big happy family, but we're not going to play music in the hallways. Where Vrabel, it's an experience, and I'm telling you, I just think the mojo in New England, I'll tell you right now, man, I think they're going to the Final Four.
Hey, look, listen, I think you've got a Celtics team that's going to go to a championship round, if not win another one. The Red Sox are kind of sputtering right now, but there is time with the trade deadline. But at least you have a winner and somebody that's respected in Alex Cora. And then, man, you and I know that we went quick through the Patriots schedule, but there are a bunch of winnable games there. It is not out of the realm of possibilities to think that the Patriots could win 9 games. And if you're 9-8, you're at least relevant in a playoff conversation. And if there's a step forward with the kid and the team starts to come together and they come up this much short, I'll be okay with that, knowing that the next year that, the first step is the longest stride. And that's what the Patriots need to remember this year. Take the longest stride this year, get to 8 or 9 wins, and we're going to be like a puppy with 2 Peters next year, ready for this team.
So before we get out of here, I want to circle back to UFC 315.
Yes.
Right, in Montreal. So, we talked a little bit about, we get out in the beginning of the program. I blew Gresh's ears out with, Bilal Muhammad, right? That was when he beat Sean Brady in Abu Dhabi. So I just want to talk a little bit about this, right? Now, the fight card's stacked, but I just want to talk about the main event a little bit, Bilal Muhammad, Jack Della Maddalena. And I brought this up, I think, on a previous show. But I ran into Mike Valley in Mexico City, Bilal's head coach. And I don't know if he was doing the happiness hedge thing to me, but he couldn't say enough nice things about Jack Della Maddalena, right? Almost shaking his head like, oh, Jack Della Maddalena's good everywhere. His grappling, his striking, And the mental game is what Bilal talks about a lot, is Jack Della Maddalena's mental game. Everyone thinks the sort of generic way this fight would go, Jack Della Maddalena is a renowned striker and Bilal's going to try and get it to the ground. Bilal said last night on the Anakin Forum podcast, everybody talking about Jack's striking. What about my striking? Bilal talks about, and I don't know if he's serious or not, frankly, and I'm close to him and I don't know this. If he wants to strike, he says he's just going to strike him, maybe not even try and take him down. What I said to my brother John this morning, which to me is the key in this fight, is really physical strength. I believe if that fight goes to the ground and Bilal is just too much in terms of the man strength, that will dictate this fight.